was just showing a photo of Noboa with Benjamin Netanyahu. Here he is with Eric Prince of the Blackwater founder, now runs Academy, the mercenary firm, who's very closely tied to the Trump administration, runs operations out of the UAE, is possibly getting involved in a post-Holocaust Gaza. And he's the one who cooked up the idea, I think, for the Maduro $50 million bounty. He said that if there was a bounty on Maduro's head, then magic would happen. Here's Noboa with Netanyahu. Of course, Noboa kissed the wall. You got to kiss the wall. And here he is with the president of Israel, Isaac Herzog. This is just sort of part of the global hegemonic power structure that connects back to Trump's Washington in particular, and really signals that you are, aiming to be sort of a subsidiary of this system. And it sort of lifts the mask on what the project for Ecuador was post-Correa. We went through Lenin Moreno, then Guillermo Lasso, who was himself a billionaire banker. There was Rafael Correa now is in, I guess, Brussels. He's in exile. He can never go home. They'll arrest him. There was all this lawfare. He was also targeted for protecting Julian Assange. And it looks like Ecuador has been removed as one of these independent countries for maybe a generation. We also have seen in Bolivia the ouster of the left-wing Mas government after these feuds between Luis Arce and Evo Morales. And Argentina, a lawfare campaign took out Cristina Fernandez Kirchner, and now you have another Trump employee, Javier Milei, in power there. Oscar, you referred to this as kind of Operation Condor 2.0, which is refers to the program of the CIA to unite right-wing military juntas in Latin America to basically repress their domestic political opponents in united fashion, like Paraguay, Argentina, Chile under Pinochet. And now it appears that Rubio is in the region to kind of take this to another level. So I want you all to address the regional picture. What's the regional agenda here for Rubio? Because there are still some independent leftist-oriented governments, including in Brazil, although Lula's been pretty lame on Venezuela. They haven't fully purged the entire region. So what's the agenda here? What is Rubio's overall game? This isn't just about Venezuela. I guess we'll start with Diego.
I do think that currently, right now, it's about Venezuela in the sense that there's no, what we're talking about, time is of the essence in the sense that he's not, he doesn't have all the time in the world to actually achieve this. And also, regarding what we've seen already, it's building maybe try to find more adherents to his coalition of the will. He can certainly find them, for example, in Panama and Costa Rica. But also to further the isolation. There was this CELAC meeting, the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, which of course neither Paraguay nor Ecuador nor Argentina, neither of them were, but Brazil was, and most of the Caribbean was, and most of Central America was also. Even Chile, which was a kind of a surprise in this case, and Colombia, which presides right now, they stated their concern of what they're going on. But it's part of a major overhaul. Like I've been saying, like we've been saying already, there's this paradigm shift regarding the perception of Latin America as not even a backyard. It's as an essential part of the imperial recovery or the rollback of decline in the sense of the capital repatriation and the U.S. capital and industries coming back to the hemisphere. If they're not going to be able to relocate completely in the U.S. because of labor laws or tax laws or whatever, we have all these options in the region that can help you out, bring your U.S. corporation, because this is also part of our domestic policy. So we don't have Latin American presidents like the case of Noboa or Milei, but we have proconsuls here. These are people that represent our interests in here. because this is a domestic issue. The wall has now become hemispheric. It's also a way to close it to multipolarity, to any kind of diversified relationship that other countries could have, like Venezuela in this case, or like Ecuador used to have before the Lenin Moreno betrayal and what came afterwards, of course. Not, I don't know betrayal, but the Lenin Moreno plan, if you will.
Oscar, you're working on a documentary about Javier Milei that will release at the Grayzone. It's a mega documentary. There's so much information in it about his background, his corruption, his ties to Trump, his ties to the Israel lobby, but he's another kind of providing another blueprint for Washington's control of the region behind the cover of an anarcho-capitalist taking a chainsaw to the supposed deep state. But what kind of success can this kind of leadership have throughout the region that exists basically to be employees of Trump Incorporated? And what is Rubio's agenda? What do you think Rubio's agenda is beyond just this show of force to Venezuela, since obviously he's in Ecuador for a reason?
I think we need to understand that this is nothing new or recent. This is a process that responds to a challenge that was issued by the presidents of Latin America when they were in a strong position. So I remember I covered, when I work in Ecuador, the assumption of power by Rafael Correa. And I was there in the room when he was talking to Chavez, Evo. I can't remember the exact names. The group of Bachelet was there. So they were talking and they were concocting a plan where the South institutions were going to create an infrastructure of investment and development. They were going to create a South-to-South banking
You're talking
system.
about UNASUR, Oscar, right? UNASUR.
That was part of this, yes. UNASUR was more like a political, and CELAC were this political group, south to south. There was also educational branch of it. There was a military branch of it. But the important part is was not just south to south in South America. It was south to south, South America and Africa. And Gaddafi was the man in the African part, in the African side of this. I remember I heard Chavez saying this myself. And, this, what we see now is the response to that, because, obviously in the Pentagon, the CIA saw that and took issue of that regional challenge and deal with it, and their plans last for a decade or more. So this is, the build up to that. I think that this is got some energy injected in it, again, this process, because of BRICS and Brazil. Because if not for that, pretty much they will be under the dominion of the Western faction of the machine, if you will. But because there's BRICS and there's Brazil in there, and there's some like Petro and the Chilean president, and the Mexican president, they have brought new energy to this the worker class side, quote unquote, if you will. So what we have now is is that the planners, is that whoever is in control of this plan pump up the heat. And I think that Marco Rubio came down to South America because they realized that now is the time to they do all of the Miami's elites bidding, in the sense of getting rid of the left now that they can, because they know also that Trump is fragile in health and he might not be there for in the long term. So I think they see the opportunity to do it now.